The private investigator, Damien, held the video of my wife, Seraphina, and her ex in a hotel room, demanding $1 million for his silence. Otherwise, he'd expose her infidelity to the world. Swallowing my pride, I paid him off to protect her reputation. Once he was gone, my hands trembling, I played the disc. The images were explicit. The icy, composed woman I knew had transformed into a passionate seductress. The pain gave way to clarity. I placed the disc on the already prepared divorce papers and left the house we had shared for 7 years. That evening, she called, her voice filled with indignation. "What do you mean? Can't you see the video is fake?" "Seraphina," I replied, "we both know the truth. Are you an actor now? Should I give you an award for this performance?" I hung up, unwilling to prolong the conversation. We'd been married for 7 years, a seemingly perfect couple, the envy of everyone. But the arrival of Ethan Lancaster had shattered that facade. Tall, handsome, and charismatic, Ethan had captivated the female staff from the moment he joined the company, including my wife, the CEO. His charm propelled his career. I still remember the vice presidential selection meeting. Ethan, with audacious confidence, declared, "I never look at my paycheck. If I become VP, I'd appreciate an office close to yours so I can report to you at any time." This blatant flattery won over Seraphina, securing him the position. Our relationship deteriorated under the constant strain of Ethan's presence. One night, after Seraphina had too much to drink, I discovered Ethan was her ex-boyfriend. Suddenly, everything made sense. 3 months prior, on our anniversary, I had planned a grand gesture to mend our fractured relationship. I arranged for fireworks to light up the city skyline, hoping to bring a smile to her face. But as the fireworks exploded, painting the night sky with vibrant colors, she announced, "James, I have to go." Ethan twisted his ankle and left without a backward glance. I stood alone, the dazzling display only emphasizing my desolation. My heart died that night. Now, I walked aimlessly through the city streets, numb with grief. I found myself in a bar, drowning my sorrows with drinks and the company of strangers. A drunken brawl erupted, and I ended up in the hospital with a bandaged head. Seraphina rushed to my side, apologizing profusely and paying off those involved. Back home, I was strangely calm. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Let me explain, James. It's not what you think." "What is it then?" I asked. "The facts are clear. It was just that once, I swear. We were drunk. Please forgive me." I looked at her coldly. How many onces were there? Haven't you hurt me enough over the years? Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Fine," I said, resigned. "What's meant to be will be. I'll let you go." I handed her the divorce papers. "Sign these, Seraphina. Then you can be with him openly." She didn't take them. Instead, she asked, putting aside what happened, "Aren't you at fault too?" I laughed, incredulous. I needed someone to listen, someone to hold me when I felt lonely. "Now you can have that," I said. "You're free to pursue your dreams." I had always tried to love her, but she had never given me a real chance. I took a month off work to recover. Returning to our former home to collect my belongings, I noticed something. The couple's outfits, the matching jewelry, the mugs I had. Bought them all. She'd never made an effort to commemorate our relationship. Perhaps she'd never loved me at all. I'd taken 100 steps, while she'd taken 100 back. I moved into my parents' old apartment. That night, I slept more soundly than I had in years. The next morning, Seraphina bombarded me with calls. Finally, I answered. "Stop being dramatic," she said. "You still love me, don't you? We've been together for 7 years. You can't just divorce me." She insisted we celebrate our anniversary that night. I was tired of her controlling behavior. I'd always been there for her, while she'd consistently prioritized Ethan, disappearing on birthdays and during my hospital stays, only to reappear later with a perfunctory apology. I'd always accepted it, fearing her judgment and accusations. But I was done. That evening, she waited for me outside my apartment, looking stunning in a white dress. Neighbors admired her beauty. Before, I would have been eager to usher her inside, jealous of any attention she received. Now, she felt like a stranger. I ignored her and proceeded to my door, but she stopped me. "The restaurant is booked. Everyone's waiting," she said. "Regardless of the future, I want to spend a pleasant evening with you tonight." I relented. In the car, I noticed the scent of Ethan's favorite cologne. "Why are you wearing that cologne?" I asked. "I'm not wearing any perfume," she replied defensively. I knew then that the scent must have lingered from her time with him. At the restaurant, her friends greeted her warmly, their smiles fading when they saw me. Seraphina was ushered to sit beside Ethan. They chatted and laughed, as if I weren't there. She peeled shrimp and picked out fish bones for him, gestures of affection I had never received. Despite my resolve, a pang of jealousy shot through me. Her friend, Veronica, noticed my darkening expression. "Seraphina, look, your husband's face has turned black." Seraphina looked at me, flustered. "James, don't misunderstand. Ethan's hand is injured. That's why I'm helping him." "It's fine," I said coldly. "We're not together anymore. It's perfectly normal for a husband and wife to help each other." The room fell silent. Ethan smirked. "James, don't be so petty," he said. "You're making things awkward. Apologize to Seraphina, and let's move on." Apologize? Or should I reveal what you two were really doing? The room buzzed with anticipation. I didn't elaborate. "I have something to do. I'll be going now." Ethan stood up. "James, it might not be what you think. We were together that night, yes, but we went to the hotel because I had a low blood sugar episode. Seraphina was taking care of me." He offered a fake apology. He knew I'd been there the whole time. This performance was for the benefit of the audience. I walked out. Seraphina called after me, her voice sharp with impatience. "James, it was a misunderstanding." Ethan apologized. "What more do you want? Come back here. If you walk out that door, I'll never forgive you." She still thought she could control me. Before, it was because of love. Now, there was no love left. I walked away. "Aren't you going after him?" Veronica asked Seraphina. "No need. He'll be back," she replied dismissively. She assumed I'd come crawling back, as always. But this time was different. I walked along the riverbank, watching a couple taking wedding photos. The bride's happiness was palpable. I remembered our own vows, our promises of eternal love. How had we ended up here? I checked my phone. Ethan had posted a photo of himself and Seraphina, arms entwined, sharing a drink, with the caption, "You and the stars are within my reach." I commented, "Perfect match. May you both rot in hell." A month passed. Seraphina's messages and calls went unanswered. At the office, she confronted me, demanding to know why I was ignoring her. She threw a box at me, a Rolex Daytona. I recognized it from a friend's social media post. He'd written, "Thanks for the gift, Miss X, but I'm not a fan of this style." Ethan's rejects were good enough for me. I threw it back at her. "I'm not your garbage disposal," I said. "Are you really going to keep this up?" she snapped. "Do you want things to become irreparable? Are we in this situation because of me?" I asked. "I'm going back to work. Please don't bother me again." She persisted, suggesting another dinner to smooth things over with her friends. I ignored her, enjoying my newfound freedom. A week later, she called again. "James, you can't back out. Night Sky Restaurant, 5 p.m. sharp." I went, hoping to finalize the divorce. Outside the private room, I overheard their conversation. "Seraphina, I don't understand what you saw in James. He's not as handsome or as rich as Ethan," Veronica said. "Ethan," she added. "If you hadn't broken up with Seraphina, that guy wouldn't even be in the picture." "My father insisted I study abroad," Ethan explained. "I didn't want to leave Seraphina, but I couldn't hold her back. I didn't know if I'd ever come back." "It's all in the past," Seraphina said. "Are you willing to be with me again?" Ethan looked at her expectantly. Seraphina smiled. So, they had a history. I wasn't just a placeholder. I was a fool. "Let's not talk about him. He's bad luck," Veronica said, refilling their glasses. "Let's play a game." They drank, their eyes locked. The others chanted, Get together. Get together. As they leaned in for a kiss, I opened the door. Everyone froze. Seraphina rushed towards me. Let me explain. It's not what it looks like. I smiled at Ethan. Go ahead, continue. Get a room after this. Then, I added, oh, and she likes to be on top. The room went silent. Seraphina was furious. Ethan put his arm around her, glaring at me. James, that's enough. Apologize to Seraphina. I looked at Seraphina. You want to rekindle your romance, right? I'll make it easy for you. Sign the divorce papers. Don't regret this, she hissed. Don't worry, I said. I won't disturb your happy little world. Ethan grinned. He'd gotten what he wanted. Fine, Seraphina said. I'll sign them, and you will regret this. Goodbye, I said and left. I felt a tremendous sense of relief. A month later, on a rainy night, Seraphina appeared at my door, soaked and sobbing. She threw herself into my arms. I'm sorry, James, she cried. I can't live without you. It's over with Ethan. I miss you. Constantly. I know you hate me, but I can't stop thinking about you. About all the love and kindness you showed me. I didn't appreciate it before, but I do now. You're the only one who truly loves me. She poured out her regrets and her desperation. I felt nothing. I was her backup plan, a temporary fix during her emotional downtime. It's too late, Seraphina, I said, gently pushing her away. I gave you chances, but you never chose me. It pained me to say it, but it was the truth. I loved you, but you can't use my love to hurt me. I wiped away her tears. It's been a while since I've called you Seraphina. Let's leave the past behind. Go home. You'll feel better tomorrow. She composed herself and walked away. I drank myself to sleep, the sound of rain against the leaves lulling me into unconsciousness. The next morning, the rain continued. I waited for the bus when a black car screeched to a halt. Seraphina rolled down the window. Get in. We'll be late for work. I got in. Do you still like Winter Sonata? She asked. It was my favorite movie. I heard it's being re-released, she continued. Let's watch it together. I'm busy tonight, I said. Oh? Since when are you so busy? I won't make you work late, she teased. I have a blind date, I said. I see, she replied, and we drove the rest of the way in silence. That evening, at the restaurant, Seraphina sat across from me. Where's your date? I asked. She smirked. I told her I was your ex-wife, that you were a violent drunk, and I showed her our pictures together. She ran away. What are you doing, Seraphina? She extended her hand. I'm here for our blind date. Hi, I'm Seraphina. Nice to meet you. Cut it out, Seraphina, I said. I'm not playing games. Her expression turned serious. I'm not playing games, James. I think we can start over, right here, right now. My mind went blank. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and the restaurant's main screen lit up, displaying the title, Winter Sonata. I rented out the whole place, Seraphina said, her voice soft. Let's watch it again together. Memories flooded back. Watching the movie in our tiny apartment, her loving gaze, her gentle whispers, the happiness that once felt so real. She leaned closer. Remember? 7 years ago, when we were newlyweds, we couldn't wait to see each other every day. I miss those times. I felt her hand in mine, but my heart remained untouched. She cupped my face in her hands, her eyes searching mine. James, there's something I need to tell you, something very important. I'm pregnant. I calculated the dates. It's yours. I froze. Are you serious? Of course, she replied, handing me an ultrasound report. I stared at the report, a mixture of shock, joy, and apprehension swirling inside me. You're not going to abandon me and the baby, are you? She asked. Guilt stabbed at me. Don't worry, Seraphina. I'll take responsibility. I'll take care of you both. She buried her face in my chest, sobbing. Later that night, as we walked home hand in hand, I considered the situation. It was a cliché, but I wouldn't shirk my responsibility. If it was my child, I would do the right thing. If not, I wouldn't be fooled again. We got back together, though we didn't remarry. I treated her as I had before, as the woman I'd once loved deeply. 7.5 months later, our child was born. I reveled in the joys of fatherhood, but a seed of doubt lingered. A month later, I secretly had a paternity test done. The results, though expected, still hit me hard. Based on the DNA analysis, James, you are not the biological father. I felt a sense of release. Her change of heart was just another attempt to make me Ethan's unwitting replacement. One quiet morning, I packed my bags and left the city, leaving the paternity test results on the table. Seraphina found them, and finally, her tears were of genuine regret. The end.